Hi, welcome to episode 444 of The Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, and that's where this episode and every episode's show notes will be. I also have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea, where I sell my handspun yarn and knitting patterns. Hi, how are you? It is Monday, October 9th, and it is a lovely fall day here in the United States. It is sunny, but it is in the 60s, and the house is a little chilly, and it's perfect for pulling out my wool sweaters and cups of tea, and so I am absolutely loving it. I don't think that we are completely done with the warm weather. I'm sure we have a little bit more in store for us, but it is moving pleasantly towards fall, and all I want to do is get cozy and knit and work on things. So I hope that you are doing well. I had a little bit of kind of a mini adventure this weekend. My husband wanted to go on a bike ride into Missouri. We live in Kansas and Missouri is right next door. And he wanted to ride along the Rock Island Spur, which is a trail that was once a railroad, and they removed the railroad ties, but now it is just a gravel trail that bikers and runners use. And so he wanted to ride about 85 miles of the trail, and what he wanted to do was go out one day and come back the next. And he had planned to do this with friends, but unfortunately, all of his friends bailed. One had to take a college trip with her kids, and one decided just not to go, and so he had the hotel reservation at the end point. And so he decided that he still wanted to go, and I offered to sort of go with him. I am certainly not riding 85 miles each direction, but what I did is on Saturday, I met him at kind of the halfway point where there was a little town and we had lunch, and then I continued on to the end point where there was a motel that he had reserved for the evening, and I went ahead and checked in, and then I went out for kind of a jog around the area. There was a little lake in town. There were some historical points along the railroad, so I explored those a little bit, and then when he arrived, we showered and went to dinner. We were both tired, him of course because he had done all that riding, so we didn't stay up too late, and there really wasn't much to do in the little town. And then the next day we did it in reverse. So he got up early and left. I slept in a little bit and then met him at the same halfway town. And we had lunch at a different restaurant in town. And then I drove home and got started on laundry and chores and crafting. And he followed home several hours later. So I did get a little bit of knitting in. It was a little bit of an away. It wasn't too much of an away. And the most interesting thing was that the town that we were in, we had zero cell reception. My phone kept saying no service the entire time we were there, and I ended up turning onto airplane mode so that it would not continue to search for service because it was wearing my battery down. And it's been a long time since I've been in a place where there was no service, but this tiny little town, there was not much service. So that's kind of what we did this weekend. So I wasn't home a lot. I did a little bit of crafting, but not as much as I might have because I was also driving. But I have a few things to show you, and I just thought it would be a quick podcast today. Also, at the end of the episode, I will announce the giveaway winner for the Mosaic Knitting Workshop, and I'll let you know how to contact me. So let's start with the tea, and once again using my Halloween Hello Kitty mug. I suspect that this mug will be out until the end of the month, so you might get sick of seeing it, but it is the one Halloween themed mug. And then I went looking for fall teas, and I found Heirloom Bartlett Pear from Hardy & Sons. I am almost at the bottom of this canister and have had it for a while, but it is a lovely fall colored tea, and I noticed that several different kinds of pears were in the store today. Yesterday when I went, green ones and red ones and brown ones, and I love pears in fall, and I think it's probably my favorite season, so I am right aboard with that. So this is again my Hello Kitty mug and Heirloom Bartlett Pear tea from Hardy & Sons. So, and I can't remember, I think this one might be a white tea, but let's see. This says rich in fruit with a warming touch of spice from nutmeg and cinnamon. Pieces of pear, apple, peach, and white cornflowers enhance this white tea's mellow flavors for a delicately sweet blend. And I put just a little bit of sweetener in it. So yeah, that is what I'm doing. I don't really taste the cinnamon and the nutmeg, to be quite honest. I just taste the pear. So let's talk about the knits. I have made some good progress on the sweater. I had hoped to have divided for the sleeves on my yoked colorwork sweater, but I didn't quite get there. I'm about 4 rows away, and then the chart actually continues onto the body, so really I am pulling off the sleeves, so it will go a little bit faster, but I'm not quite to the point where I'll just be knitting stockinette and it will just kind of rip really fast. Anyway, I am knitting Antique Flora. It is a design by Wool and Pine, and it is a top-down yoked sweater with a really deep colorwork yoke. And like I said, the charts actually go onto the body, so there is more after you divide for the sleeves. And it is very florally themed. I am knitting this as a sample for Zen Yarn Garden, and I am using their super fine fingering weight. So let me pull out what I have. So this is Zen Yarn Garden. I am a sample knitter for them, and then it is their super fine fingering weight, which is a 90-10 blend of super fine superwash merino and 10% nylon. And the main color that I'm using is a teal blue, and then I am using the teal spatter, which is their way of saying speckle. So this is the spatter colorway, and this is the regular, and as you can see, I'm almost out of this one. I do have another skein of this one, and I'll mention what I'm doing in just a second, and then this is the teal. So these are the two that go together. The sweater was originally knit in for the main color with a DK weight, and then the colorwork sections were knit in 2 colors of fingering held double to approximate a DK, and they were kind of marled together to create a gradient in the colorwork. We originally tried to marl a couple colorways together, and the colorwork just wasn't distinct enough. So what I have done is I'm using both the inside and the outside of this ball, so I am double stranding with one color, and then I have 2 balls of the teal here. Actually, I don't know where the second one went, and I'm holding it doubled to do the regular main color on the body. We opted to do that because the DK weight that Zen Yarn Garden does isn't exactly a 2-ply, approximate to holding the fingering weight doubled, so we decided to make the whole sweater held double. So as I said, I'm almost there. I'm very, very excited. So this is where I am. I'm about 3 or 4 rounds away from being done with the colorwork, and here is where I am so far. And I'm sure that the pattern is meant to evoke kind of tulips or bulbs or maybe even pomegranates and scroll work. And as I said last week, I'll ruin the sweater for you. I totally see Cthulhu with his eyes here and his kind of tentacles here. And so I can't unsee that, but I do see how it could be floral and scroll work. And as I said, I have a couple more rounds before I can divide for the sleeves, and then there will be some color work on the body as well, and also on the sleeves. So I will be dividing, but I won't be completely done with the color work. I have done pretty well on the color work. As I mentioned, I find color work in the round kind of difficult. I should say, I find colorwork in the round over yokes that have lots of increases very difficult. As you can see, I have done really, really well with my tension up here at the top. None of this is blocked yet, and of course colorwork always needs a good blocking to lay flat, but up at the top I'm doing really, really well, and then down at the bottom I'm doing really, really well, and then there's one point in between, kind of where these scroll bits are, where I got a little frustrated and I think I got a little tight. And so my plan at this point is I'm really, really hoping not to have to rip, because this has been a lot of work. I have a lot of stitches on the needles at this point. What I am planning to do is, because I'm only 3 rows away from, or 3 rounds away from pulling off for the sleeves, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I am going to steam block the yoke and make sure that it will lay flat enough before I move on. So I realize I could have ripped a while ago and I didn't, and maybe that's going to turn out to be a mistake and I'm going to curse myself. But before I continue on with the sweater body, I'm definitely going to pull this off the needle, get things set, and then do a quick steam block so I can see if it's going to lay flat. I think I'm going to get away with it, but I do want to do that before I make the ultimate commitment. So that is where I am. Just a few more rows down here, a little bit more. There's like a few kind of geometric kind of seed and floral motifs down here. You can see this section right here almost looks like a petal or something. We basically have petals like right here and right here. So basically I finish those and then it's time to separate for the sleeves. So that is where I am at with that project. Like I said, I wish I had actually been home this weekend because I would have done the sleeve separation, but I didn't take this with me because it's just too complicated to keep looking at the chart and work this out. I mean, I have, I think, 12 repeats of a 12 repeats of a 26 row chart. So I have several hundred stitches on here at this point, and it's just a lot to keep track of. So yeah, so I mean, it's not hard. It's just a lot of volume around the sweater and a lot of knitting and a lot of pattern repeats. So yeah, but I do like how it's coming out. It's interesting because you can see some of the contrast. Occasionally you see that there's a darker color in my colorwork color, so it makes it look a little different, but I think in general the colorwork is coming across pretty well. And again, I'm sorry to have ruined it for you. I just can't see anything else in there anymore. I mean, I guess I can see how this is like a flower or maybe even a thistle, and these are some of the leaves and scroll work, and it's still beautiful, but to me it's very Cthulhu. So I will be working on that. By next week, I will be on the body. Hopefully I will even be done with the color work, because when I actually get to the stockinette section of the sweater, which will just be in all teal, it will fly. So I need to wind up some more yarn and get to working on that, and then I'll go back and do the sleeves. There's a little bit of color work on the sleeves and then the remainder of them. So hopefully I'll finish that. My goal is to finish it by the end of October. I think that should be well within reach because today's only the 9th, so that means I have 3 more weeks. So keeping my fingers crossed. So the second project I have on the needles is socks for Roxy. And I wasn't quite finished with the first one last week, but I have since finished it. And so here is the sock for Miss Roxy. I am using a, technically it was a 3 skein, 1 full skein and 2 mini skein set, called something like Cozy Winter Day, and it was blues that I'm using in this sock, and then there's a bright red, but I think this blue one was called Burr, and I can't remember what the speckle was called, and they match. I am doing, it is a 52 stitch sock on size 0 needles. I did a 2x2 rib for 10 rows at the top, then I knit quite a few rows, and then I did a slip stitch, heel flap and gusset, and then down to a rounded toe. And because I wanted to use more of the blue and have it really show up, I actually knit several rounds on the toe with the blue before I actually started my decreases. So you can see I knit 4 or 5 rounds there. I just wanted a real nice blue toe. I thought it would be kind of fun. So the first one is done. I started the second one this weekend while I was gone, because it was super easy to knit, and I got through the complete cuff. So I'm basically right where I'm starting the heel flap. I will do the heel flap and turn hopefully tonight, and then just work down the foot. And by the time I see you next, these will be done. That is a definite goal, because I still need to knit a pair of socks for my mom, and then I have a couple hats for the kids, and I need to finish all of that before Thanksgiving. So I do have, I actually do have a car trip coming up in just a couple weekends. So I will be able to work on a lot of stuff in the car, and so my plan is to take those projects with me, probably my mom's socks and probably the Zen Yarn Garden sweater, and finish that up while I'm on a long road trip with lots of car time. So that is what I've got going on here, and I will continue. And so that brings me to the final thing. I just brought it so I could show you. I am working on a chicken this week, and it is kind of a bright chicken. It totally makes sense for a chicken, but it reminds me of 70s colors. We've got our golden harvest and our copper tone orange, and I feel like this chicken just needs some disco pants. So I think it actually fits with colors for chicken feathers, but I thought it was so funny because I was knitting this and I was like, these are not my colors, and this just honestly reminds me very much of kind of that 70s kitchen. All that's missing is the avocado green, you know, but you've got your gold and your bright orange. So yeah, so that is what I'm working on, and I just love the way this thick and thin knits up into garter stitch. It's just nubbly and really textural, and I just think it's one of my favorite things about knitting. Oops, that's the side that I hid my ends in. So I guess I'll just show you this side again. So yeah, so that is what I am knitting. I don't anticipate casting on anything else this week because I'm just, like I said, trying to crank through projects. So let's do a brief detour to spinning, and then I will announce the giveaway winner, and then I'll let you get on your way. So this week I spun something that was not as exciting as some of the things that I spin, but I really, really like it anyway. And that is, I spun some semi-solid, oh great, you can see the variation here. I spun some semi-solid purple from Kumasi, who is Kumasi on Etsy, and she also has her own website. And this was basically a tonal braid that I broke down and spun in strips. And as you can see, there is a little bit of nice variation in there. It is all purples, but bits of it go more to like a violet or a darker purple. And then bits of it go more towards almost a magenta or a mauve. And I'm really pleased with it. I came out with probably about between 325 and 350 yards. My guess is it will be sport weight. It needs to plump up, and I can't remember what the fiber was. I think it was Falkland. So it's not super, super soft, but nor is it rough. It's kind of a medium stapled fiber, and it drafts really nicely. It's a great beginning fiber for those starting to spin. It's not as slippery as merinos or superwash merinos, but it just came out really nicely. I'm loving the color variation in there. It plied up really well, and so all I need to do now is give it its bath and do kind of final weights and measures, and then I will be able to put it up in my shop. So look for that later this week, because I'm going to wash that as soon as I'm done here. So that means, oops, hang on. I was looking at an old episode of mine to figure out what number we were on, and it started playing, so you could hear me against a background of me. Very weird. Okay, so that means it's time to bring out a new braid, and I went looking through my stash, and I found something I recently got on D-Stash, and I thought it would be the perfect fall braid. And so this is a braid from Southern Cross Fiber, and it is superwash merino, and it is called Allegory. It is from June 2018, so actually it's not recent at all, but I found it on D-Stash, and it just looked really like fall. It's got oranges and browns and yellows and just a little bit of green, and a little bit of almost purple in there, and a little bit of rusty orange. It's just got all these great colors in here, and I think this is going to be kind of a fun fall braid, a little bit of white to maybe tone down a little bit of that highlighter yellow, but it just looks like a fun braid, and since I'm pleased fall is here, it's not my normal color range, but I'm pleased fall is here, and so I'm going to work on this one this week, and this is just really epically soft. This is really, really soft and squishy, and of course I took the color brightly because it's superwash merino, and superwash merino tends to strike. The dye tends to strike and create really, really bright colors. So I'm excited about this. I'll work on this one this week. I don't know if I'll have it done by the next time I come to you, but we'll try for that, and that will be the next spin on the wheel, and it will be going into the shop. So if these are your colors, I don't spin them very often, but it will be going into the shop. So the last thing that I have to share with you, and I think I put the books over on the couch, I didn't bring them over, I should have, is last time I reviewed a copy of Ashleigh Wempe's Mosaic Knitting Workshop, and we had 9 people leave comments below the previous video, and the random number generator picked number 2, and in chronological order, that was My Bookbound Life 29. So if you are the winner, go ahead and contact me. You've got a couple ways to do that. You can find me on Instagram at Fluffy Kira, and you can send me a direct message there. If you are on Ravelry, and that is a site that is safe for you to use, I am Fluffy K on Ravelry, and you are welcome to message me there. Or if all else fails, you can just email me, and you can email me at the corner of knit and tea. So the corner of knit and tea, no punctuation there, at gmail.com. So please let me know where you are in the world. I could use a name and a snail mail address, and I will get that book out to you this week. I will give you 1 week to contact me, and then if I have not heard from you by the time I podcast next, I will pick a different winner. So just so you are aware, contact me sometime this week, and I will get your prize out to you. And thanks again to Stitchcraft Marketing and Ashleigh Wempe for sending me 2 copies at no cost. That was one for me and one to give away to you guys, but my review is my own. I received no other compensation for that. So I hope that you are doing well. I wish you a wonderful crafty week ahead. I hope wherever you are in the world, the weather is treating you well, you are in good health, and I will say until I see you next time, happy spinning, happy sipping, happy spinning, happy knitting, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.